Nice to see you all. I'm Justin Jacobson, the board game necromancer, president of Restoration Games as well. And I just want to thank you all for coming to our Fireside Chat. Hopefully, the first of many that we'll be doing periodically going forward. We hope to do about one a quarter. I'm aided today by the invisible Suzanne Sheldon, our master of fireworks. She will be running the show behind the scenes. She will also be reviewing the chat during the course of the program and pulling out questions and posting them for us. This is very much intended to be a chat. I have, a few little bits of information here or there I hope to sprinkle out, but also most importantly, opportunity for us to talk with you, our fans or our fans to be, and find out what you're interested in, what you want to know, answer questions if we can, and you know, give you whatever information we can to, that you might be looking for. So I just wanted to, which rule book was I reading? So Octopup asked which rule book I was reading. Well, this is the Brains and Brawn rule book for the upcoming Brains and Brawn Marvel set. There's lots of great images in here that I will not be showing because, as I said, Suzanne is running the show. And although I'm a big blabbermouth, she's here's a picture. We showed this one before, but you can see some amazing illustration. I'll talk about that set. We can jump right off and start talking about that. That's Brains and Brawn. That is our fifth Marvel set and the final Marvel set. That is definitely the last one. It was really exciting to work with that license, but we're ready to put a cap on it with what we think is one of the most exciting unmatched sets we've ever released. That's Brains and Brawn, featuring Doctor Strange, She-Hulk, and of course Spider-Man. Very exciting. One of the interesting things we've done with this first time ever, we've done sort of a Marvel team up, if you will, for our illustrators. We have the cover illustration is by Josh Swaby, Sway as he might be known to some of you. Oliver Barrett did the Spidey illustrations, and then the Brave Union did the Doctor Strange illustrations. And you can see Suzanne is posting the card backs. That's the first time we revealed that. And you'll see that shows off some of the art for those from those various artists that we've used on this set. It's a lot of fun, great set. Some of the interesting stuff that we've done in Unmatched. She-Hulk has, other than the T-Rex, she's about as beefy as they come, appropriately so. And that is going to actually be up for sale on our website starting June 15th. You'll be able to order that. That is not a pre-order. That is an actual order. The games are already in port and getting ready to be delivered to the warehouse as we speak. And so barring some trouble, should be available on our website June 15th for immediate order. We will be running a promotion where you will get promo cards if you order from the website. But then, of course, you can always order it from your friendly local game store as well. We always appreciate that, like to support our local game stores, and we will have it at various conventions. And then the street date will be sometime in July. I don't remember the exact number. Will we have it at Origins? Yes, we will. So I'll be talking about some of our conventions. Hi, Joel. Thanks for joining us. I'll be talking about some of our conventions and what we have coming up and what we can expect to see there. Why don't I just jump into that right now? Well, let's answer some more questions. Matthew asks, well, with the Marvel sets, which character were you most proud of in terms of how the design came out? So that's super interesting question. And perhaps I'm a little biased because we obviously, as I've said several times, designing Unmatched is easily one of the most fun games we've ever worked on. When we get a new set that we're doing and we're figuring out what heroes we're doing, we sort of scramble to see who gets to design what decks. Some people get to, really ask to design a particular deck. For me, I was really excited to design the Black Widow deck, and I think it came out super interesting. I want to point out, obviously, that's the initial design. There's a huge team of the design team is myself, Brian Neff, Noah Cohen, and of course Rob Davio. We've had outside developers on numerous sets as well. For the Marvel sets, we also had Tim Weish, formerly of Mondo, now at Dark Horse Comics, who helps us with licensing. He was also a huge comic book fan and Unmatched fan. He helped with the design on these decks. But in terms of initial design, Black Widow was one I was super excited by. I've also mentioned many times that when I design a deck, I start with the card names, and Black Widow was a lot of fun in that regard. All her mission names, I was like, called back to my Robert Ludlum novel days. They all read like Robert Ludlum novel titles, and that was a lot of fun to do that. And then to design a deck that is pretty different from our typical unmatched decks was a lot of fun. I will say I also did the initial design on She-Hulk, which was also a lot of fun because I am a lawyer by trade. For those who don't know, I practiced law for 20 years, had my own law firm before I started Restoration Games with Rob. And so She-Hulk, of course, being a lawyer as well. Jessica Walters, her alter ego. It was a lot of fun designing, putting some of that legal theme into that deck. So that was a lot of fun as well. And yeah, so it was those are two. I mean, I would say Black Widow. She-Hulk is a lot of fun too, though. So Felipe asks, what's next for license sets? I can't reveal much on what it is, but how is it looking? So we have a license that we are under contract for a set that we will be looking to release next year. And we are in development on it right now, working with the licensor a little back and forth in terms of the heroes, the card names, all that stuff. I can't obviously talk about the license yet. We will be announcing what that license is later this year. We expect it to release mid-year sometime next year. We obviously way too early to know exactly when that'll be. And it's exciting. It's a fun license. We've worked on Marvel for a couple of years now, and so it's nice to get to work in a different playpen, intellectual property playpen. And one of the things we want to do is one of the great things about Unmatched, obviously, is mixing up different intellectual properties, themes, genres. So that's something we always want to have an eye toward. And as much as I love working with Marvel and what a great, one of the best IPs around, it's a lot of supers that we did over the past couple of years. And so we definitely want to take a break from that and start exploring some of these other genres and themes. So I will say that the intellectual property that we're looking at is a very different genre from superheroes. I can't divulge anything yet, but we will say soon. Is definitely not supers though. I can tell you that. So you can think about some of the genres we haven't touched on too much, and that would be something that we will definitely, that definitely entered into what license we were looking at. Golden Garuda asks, how do you choose which characters and maps you design? This is an interesting process when we it can go both ways. Obviously, we're working on intellectual property. We want to look at it's twofold. What obviously are the important elements of that setting? And those are things we definitely want to hit on. And then also we have to come at it from a design perspective, like which heroes or characters or locations do we think present an opportunity for an interesting design that we can apply to them, a new mechanism or a new way to use an old mechanism. So that's definitely something we look at when we're choosing which characters and maps we design. And then obviously we had the design contest a few years ago, and we have a number of those designs that are coming out for the public domain sets, separate from the intellectual property sets. And one of the things we look to do there is sort of combine them in interesting ways to make sets, again, that we think are going to be really pleasing to a lot of people. And sometimes they're thematically linked. So we obviously had Cobble and Fog has been one of our most popular sets we've done. I think in large part to the characters in that set and the strong thematic link. As many of you know, we just recently announced that that's going in the vault. We are not doing a reprint of that right now. Might come back somewhere down the road. We don't know, but as of right now, it's going to be done as soon as the existing print run sells out, which we expect to happen maybe sometime by the end of this year. So we do have a new set coming out next year that I think is really going to rival that in terms of the strength of the theme, the cohesiveness of the theme. It's interesting. The characters, the art's amazing, by the way. So that's something we're really excited on. We're sort of putting the finishing touches on that set right now. And yeah, and then of course for Battle of Legends, we're like, hey, pick 4 super weird heroes that don't seem to go together at all and mash those together. So that's a lot of fun too. So Gern Blanston asks, Justin, that's me, is Battle Legends Volume 3 planned to be released in 2024? Suze can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we are not planning on Battle Legends 2020. Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, 2024 is Battle of Legends towards the end of the year. I think that's correct. Yes. So we do have some other sets in the pipeline, and I have trouble keeping track of which order is which. But I believe next year we are looking at 4 sets. We have the licensed set that we haven't announced. We have, and then we have 2 public domain sets that we haven't announced yet. But one of them is going to be Battle of Legends Volume 3. Suzanne is now confirming for me in 2024, and then another unlicensed set that we have not mentioned yet. Going back, obviously, that design contest, we had some winners there. We had the release already of Houdini versus Genie, great 2-pack featuring 2 of those winners. We have 2 other winners that will be coming up soon, Shakespeare and Rosie the Riveter. Those will be appearing in separate sets, and those should both be Shakespeare should be coming out next year in 2024, and then the set with Rosie I think is slated for 2025. But we also have a bunch of runner-ups that will be coming in some of those sets next year, including Battle of Legends Volume 3. So Brian Bet asks, is there still a chance out there for another design contest for Unmatched? Certainly there's a chance. I will say, like I said, we're trying not to, overload people with too many sets too fast. We've had some hiccups with that, honestly, in terms of the production and logistics issues that gave us some trouble in terms of how we stretch out or plan out those releases. That's something we're working very hard to get a little bit more streamlined or consistent, I should say. So importantly, we have ideas and sets planned out over the next couple of years. So we don't have any immediate plans to do another deck design contest. We have talked about doing some other contests, in particular, for example, for map design, or one of the things I haven't mentioned yet that most of you might know about is the Unmatched Adventures line. So we recently did the Kickstarter campaign for that, and then that'll be releasing later this summer or Q3 sometime. And it's really excited about what that's going to do for the line in terms of mixing it up for people, opening up to people who might not have been interested in the competitive nature of the game, but as a cooperative game are excited about the prospect of having Bruce Lee fight Mothman, for example. Or maybe Bruce Lee's not a good example anymore since he's unavailable, but any of these other ones, having Spider-Man attack Mothman, that's actually a pretty appropriate matchup, I think. So certainly we had a sort of low-key contest or design project that people have been working on in terms of designing decks for the minions and the villains who don't get their own official playable decks. So that's something that we might consider down the road, something like that. So it's something we have in mind, but so Jeremiah, hi Jeremiah, how are you doing? is asking, do we have any more cooperative boxes in the future? And so one of the things we wanted to do, one of the reasons we did a campaign for Unmatched Adventures was to gauge interest and see if we were excited about it, but we wanted to see if everyone was as excited as we were. And it really got a great response. Everybody who's played has been really digging it. So we're pretty bullish on it at this point. And it is definitely something that we are looking to do another Unmatched Adventures set. And that's one of the things we're exploring right now. I should mention one of the conventions that I'm heading to next, June 13th out in Las Vegas, is the Licensing Expo. Pardon me for 1 second. I seem to be a little short. I'm going to pour myself a little bit of brown for our fireside chat here. A nice glass of brown. Give me a second here. There we go. Only the highest class beverages for our fireside chat. Delightful, fruity. I'm going to Licensing Expo in Las Vegas. I went last year. It was my first time. Very interesting. And that actually helped set up the upcoming IP set that we have coming out next year. And so I'll be going in this year. And one of the things I'll specifically be hunting for is if we can find a good license that's a good fit for an Unmatched Adventures cooperative treatment. So by all means, if you've got suggestions for IPs that you think would work well in Unmatched Adventures, drop them here, drop them on social, let us know. I'm definitely hunting for that. And Eric asks, what inspired you to do Unmatched Adventures? It's a great story. So we actually have some big Unmatched fans who came to us. It's Dirtle Games. They have their own game design company, but they're also big Unmatched fans. And they came to us with an idea that they'd been working on sort of on their own, but decided to pitch it to us for this cooperative version. And we were pretty impressed by it. Obviously, anytime you have a design, it's going to go through tons of development. So a lot of stuff remained, a lot of stuff changed. It was, a couple of years of real strong development, as these things always go. But ultimately, that's what became Unmatched Adventures. And as I said before, we were excited about the prospect of what having a set like that could do for the line in general, in terms of introducing new people to it. So I mentioned the Licensing Expo. I'll be going there for Unmatched Adventures. Just regular Unmatched. We have, like I said, a license coming up next year, but I want to start lining something up for 2025 as well. So we'll definitely be looking for another licensed set. And then we have other games, obviously, we work on, not just Unmatched. I can talk about some more of those. I'll talk about some of the other stuff we have in the pipeline, but then also just stuff that we haven't thought about. When you get a license, it can take a couple of years to get through all that and get something released. So we're talking about games that might not be coming out till 2025 or even 2026. But that's what we're looking for. So Christian asks, who decided how many sets will be made for an IP? So previously, obviously, through Marvel, all the licensing had been handled by Mondo, and a lot of that was licenses that they had with regard to other things that they were working on, posters and vinyl and stuff like that, and we were sort of tacked on or added on to those existing licenses. And so a lot of that was worked out with them. They drove a lot of that. And then, of course, the relationship, we split off from them. They've gone their own way, and we took over our own IP licensing. So for the upcoming set we have coming for next year, that was something we negotiated up front. A lot of it is we don't want to be in a situation with Marvel, again, as strong an IP as it is, that we don't want the Unmatched line to be dominated by one property for that long. So we definitely, I think in the future, will be sticking to, one or two or three sets, maybe at the most, depending on the IP. A lot of it depends on how strong the IP is. If you get one of the tippy top ones like a Marvel, you're going to definitely want to get as much license as you can. You're obviously probably paying a lot more. You probably got a larger minimum guarantee that you need to deal with. So that drives some of that. For the licensed IP we have next year, I don't think it's a big deal to spoil. We have 2 sets planned for that. It depends on the IP mostly. And then working with the licensor, they obviously have a lot of input on it as well. Fanaka asked, do you plan on doing one IP at a time, or would you do multiple smaller ones simultaneously? Well, it depends what you mean by simultaneously. I mean, we certainly we don't want to release anything simultaneously if we can help it. Obviously, we've had some issue with that in the past, but we want to spread out the releases. But in terms of being under licensed, yeah, for sure. And I do think we would have sort of a major license that we might do 2 sets on, that kind of thing. And then one small one that, maybe not small is not the right word, but one more focused license that might just be suitable for a single 2-pack or a 3-pack, and just release that as a one-off. I think obviously the strength of Unmatched as a line is the variety, both in terms of genre and characters and mechanics and all that. And one of the ways we make sure we're sticking to that is by doing a variety of licenses of those different types. And so, yes, I think I would be perfectly open. One of the things I'll be looking for is, is there an IP that would be really good for a 2-pack that we can just release as a one-off and find a good place to slot that in, so that we have a nice cadence where, we have public domain sets and the big IPs and, more focused IPs, and then another public domain set, et cetera, et cetera. So that's definitely something we look at. Like I said, we do have obviously some other things that we are working on. So let me just talk a little bit about that. Obviously, one of our other big games is Return to Dark Tower. I have all the games back there. I spent a lot of time lining them up. You can see a lot of them, right? So we have Return to Dark Tower over there. And that obviously was a huge hit for us in terms of the campaign, and then the second campaign for the upcoming Covenant expansion and all the reprints. And so that is something we are working on right now. We just did an app update. So if you played and haven't updated your app recently, make sure you do that. We added in some new monthly adversary quests that mix things up quite a bit. So present some new challenges, and we're excited about that. Brian asks a couple questions here. Are there plans to enhance the victory screen, music, animation, etc.? Yes, that is something we have been working on. there's some limitation on what we can do in terms of some of it would require hardware or firmware updates. That's more challenging. And some of it also, we've tried some of it, and some of it doesn't work as well as you would expect. So it's more challenging than it sounds, but it's definitely something we're working on. Number two, if we consider offering even more deluxe version elements, like he didn't say this, but I assume he's talking about a gold-plated tower. The answer to that is no, for the gold-plated tower specifically. As far as more deluxe version elements, that is something I would love to hear what you have in mind. We're always open to suggestions. We obviously, every game we want to make can't be the most deluxe thing possible, but if any game is, Return to Dark Tower is a great candidate. And we probably will be doing another campaign somewhere down the road, whether it's for a new expansion, which we've actually, not to tell any tales out of school, but we've been noodling some ideas. Brian, follow-up question, exactly that. More foes is something we get asked a lot about. They're, again, more challenging to design, but it is something we have been working on specifically. So I can't make any promises, but it's definitely something we are looking at. I think it's definite possibility down the road for sure. So that's something we are looking for. Obviously, we also have Thunder Road is a campaign we just did recently that is fulfilling as we speak. Fulfillment is nearly complete, North America in particular. I know the UK and EU have been getting theirs now for a few days, and so that should be wrapping up pretty quickly. Asia is always a bit wonky. Takes a long period of time because we're talking about a number of different postal systems that have a bunch of different requirements. So that can take a little bit to get through, but I know that started. Australia, I believe, has started. That should be certainly wrapping up pretty soon. But we're very excited about the response that it's gotten. And so, we hope that you all are enjoying it. And if you haven't done it yet, go rate it on BGG, Board Game Geek. That's always helpful for us. If we can get positive ratings there, that helps out quite a bit. We're just excited to see people playing it and having fun with it. We were pretty excited about it for a while. That's Dave Chalker and Brett Myers did the original restoration on the Jim Kiefer design. And so, yeah, we're excited about getting into people's hands. And by the way, I should mention, we will have Thunder Road Vendetta available, including Maximum Chrome, will be available for purchase at Origins, which starts on June 21st. We're booth 920, by the way. And so we will have that for sale there if you want to pick that up. Michael Molinets asks, any crossbow and catapults updates? Your Fireball Island restoration was fantastic. Thank you so much. So crossbows and catapults is one we've been working on a while, and we are going to be launching that sometime this month. We are deciding on the exact date yet. Just trying to wrap up a few figures. We should probably decide that pretty soon, and then we will announce the date, but it'll be on Kickstarter. I think we're looking at either the 14th or the 21st, something like that. I'm not exactly sure. In terms of you've seen probably a little bit, but we're going to be showing off a lot more. But basically what we did is it's a dexterity game, and we wanted to make sure it had some really good engineering and physics behind it to maximize the dexterity part, where you're not just flinging and hoping, right? So the weapons have been fully redesigned, no rubber bands anymore. We have a catapult that is spring powered and adjustable. The angle of attack is adjustable. So it makes it super interesting to fire those plastic discs at the builds. And the crossbow is interesting because it's a pinch fire, which makes it a little bit more challenging, but also gives you a lot more control when you're firing that crossbow. We will have a weapons cache that will have 2 additional weapons, a ballista and a trebuchet, which are also pretty interesting. The ballista is spring powered with a small off the table angle, and then the trebuchet can fire 2 discs at once. So we really put a lot of time into the weapons and then also into the bricks. We really wanted it to be fun to build this stuff, not just, stack it up and make a wall and then just, like I said, fire the stuff at it and hope that it falls down. We wanted people to be able to build interesting things. We have a variety of stuff, not just single bricks. We have a variety of toppers. We have little shields that can get inserted into the bricks that have some relevance to gameplay. I will say we're looking on one thing I want to mention. Let me answer Evan's question. I'll get to this. So Regarding crossbows and catapults, is there any schedule for expansions like 1983? Is it going to go to Europe, and when do you know the price of the Kickstarter? So, answer those questions. So the 1983 expansions were some really weird ones that are, again, they look really cool, but in terms of weapons, they just really aren't great. Honestly, we very much focused on, we want everything to look cool, but it has to function as a weapon and function well in play. The Kickstarter will be open to worldwide. We will Europe, Asia, North America, etc., all across the world. And then one of the things I wanted to mention is, oh shoot, I just forgot what it was going to be. What was that question? Put that question back up, Suze. Price for the Kickstarter. We haven't settled on the price yet. So importantly, I should mention for Crossbows and Catapults is this is a partnership that we're working with both Longshore and Broadway. They're a Chinese factory and retailer partner, and also Goliath. They're a major publisher. Mostly you've seen them in Target. They have a bunch of games, these mass market games that they work with for mass market retailers, big box retailers like Target. And we're working with them on this. This is a joint project for all three of us. We're similar to what we did with Fireball Island, but done from the beginning, so it's much more organized. Is there will be a SKU that is a very base level SKU, fully playable game, has all the weapons, has bricks for both castles, all the discs and everything, with a really very good price point. I don't remember the specifics, so I don't want to say, but it's like $30. That'll be in, hopefully, again, nothing's final yet, but hopefully you'll see that in mass market. That'll be from Goliath. It will be available in the Kickstarter for those who are interested. But then we also have one that's more sort of, I guess you could say, hobby-focused set called Fortress War. If you saw the landing page that we posted from some of the tweets, and I'm sure Suzanne can post that if she hasn't already in the chat, an image of this box called Fortress War, which has a lot more bricks. It has a bunch of figures in it that have special abilities with tactics cards. And that's obviously sort of a little bit of a meatier game, but still very much focused on the dexterity. And we're not talking a heavy strategy game here. We know what Crossbows and Catapults is all about. Brian asks, will there be Crossbows and Catapults demo at upcoming conventions? The answer is yes. It will be at Origins and at Gen Con. I should also mention I'll be at Dice Tower East personally, July 4th. We will probably have something there. Usually I bring whatever I have that's like the latest thing that we have, and that goes on the hot games table there if you've ever been there, and right up front that you can just play throughout the weekend. I don't know what that game will be yet. I mean, it might be Brains and Brawn. It might be something else. I'm not sure. We'll see. And then also just, I should mention this as well, we also have the Dice Tower Retreat. It's sold out, so I don't think you can go to it now. It's September 5th, but we sponsor that. And it's also, if you watch when I'm there, if you watch our social and stuff, we usually have some stuff that we put out there for people to play as well. So we're excited about Crossbows and Catapults. If you haven't already, again, I'm sure Suzanne posted that link. Please sign up, get notified on launch. We have a special gift, a Benny for people who sign up and then back the project. These metallic colored discs that look pretty cool. Like I said, we're excited about everything's engineered down to even the ammunition. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. We have a lot of the games. We have Omega Virus. I haven't mentioned that is one we're working on. Oh, look, I read Columbatron's mind. Updates on Omega Virus. Will the prologue be compatible? Prologue's not compatible. It's just a standalone game. It was just sort of a fun way to announce that we were doing it. And in fact, the thematic wise, we're trying to do some interesting stuff with it. I will say it's been a very challenging nut to crack. Not quite as bad as Dark Tower. Bad is not the word. Challenging as Dark Tower, Return to Dark Tower, but in a similar vein. So it's got electronics. It's got to have a brain. And so that is what we're working on right now. And we are trying to get that locked down. We've done some initial game design, but we can't do too much more until we get that part locked down. And so we'll be working on that over the summer, doing that heavy lifting in terms of design and product design and the engineering and all that stuff. And we'll just have a lot more to announce that, but it's going to be sort of later this year, I think, when we start seeing some stuff about that come out. So if there's more questions, please post them. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up soon. I don't want to keep everybody too long, but obviously, I'm happy to answer your questions. Henrik, I hope I didn't on Henrik. I guess I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Any ETA on the app update on adversary deck for Return to Dark Tower? I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, that's regarding the adversary side quest. I'm not sure what the adversary deck refers to there, but as I mentioned earlier in the chat, we did do the app update with the new adversary quest that is available now. So go ahead and make sure you've updated your app. It's 1.2.7, I believe. If I have that right, that is the latest edition of the app. Notebard says, if I've only played Unmatched, what would be a good next game of yours to attempt? Ooh, that's an interesting question. Some of it depends on like the size of your game group and who you like to play with. Thunder Road is coming out now. The base game is very reasonable. It should be available. I'm excited, super excited. I don't think it's been announced. Maybe we can announce it, but it'll be showing up in a big retailer soon for Father's Day. That's the plan. And anyway, the retail edition of that is a very reasonable price. A lot of gameplay. I think that's a fun one to start. It can be quite chaotic. It's not a heavy strategy game. So if you want something a little more strategic, obviously Dark Tower's a good way to go. And then, we have Downforce and Conspiracy and some of these other games you can get on our website. And then if you're looking for family games, we've got some back there. Dinosaur Tea Party, Buried Treasure, etc. Key to the Kingdom, if you've got kids, is a great family weight game too. Yeah, not knowing anything else about you, I guess I would suggest giving Thunder Road a try. Brian asks, is Thunder Road considered complete, or is there more stuff in the pipeline? Well, it's complete for now, but I will say we had a lot of ideas that we trimmed down for the final. I know it doesn't seem like it if you look at the maximum Chrome box, but we did cut a lot of material out. So we do have some stuff in the hopper still, and I know Dave and Brett have a lot of ideas. So I definitely think it's something we will look at. The reception's been great, so it's something we will definitely start looking at in terms of whether or not we can, look at a new expansion for it in some way or some other packaging for it. Honestly, it might be something I could even see an IP version of if we got that route. Jared says, Thunder Road is your best game yet. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love hearing that feedback. Go rate it on BGG. Calvin says, what is your holy grail game to restore and why haven't you restored it yet? Well, that's a super interesting question. One of our holy grail games is one that I don't want to talk about because it's one we're working on pretty hard, and I do think will happen. I've always said Glory to Rome is one I'd love to do. It's a hot mess. I don't think it'll ever happen. I probably could figure out a way to brute force it, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So I don't know. There's some other ones there. My holy grail that everybody knows who follows me on Discord or whatever. I want to do Muhammad Ali Unmatched, and I can't seem to get that to work. So you can't do everything. Robin says, Thunder Road, will there be Max Chrome boxes for sale on your site? Yes. So as I mentioned, we are fulfilling backers right now. All the stock is at Quartermaster, particularly for people if there's lost shipments or they need replacement parts. We need to make sure we can manage those people. But then as soon as that is done, that stock will get moved to our regular warehouse at PSI in Georgia. And then that'll show up on our website. And again, we will have that available at conventions this summer, starting with Origins. So, Andrew asks, when you attend a licensing expo, do you go with properties in mind, or do you expect others to approach Restoration Games? Well, I would love to think that Restoration Games is hot enough property that people would contact us, but that is not generally how it works. We have had a few people. We've definitely had a few properties reach out to us, and that is very exciting. One of them we're even talking to right now is definitely a possibility. I can't obviously discuss what it is yet. It's very early. But when I go to the licensing expo, that's the real deal for sure. It's a fun expo to go to. A lot of these big, like the big companies like Marvel and Hasbro and Sony and Universal, they have these massive booths that are really well done and hard to get time with. Like there's tons of people looking to license their properties for sure. But it's an interesting convention, before you go, there's a process where you sort of reach out to people and they reach back through the convention website, try and set up meetings. I do have several meetings already set up with some new properties, so that's exciting. And then there's some people I reach out to and they just don't get back to me at all, so that can happen too. Licensing is definitely tricky. I have a whole newfound respect for Tim, I mentioned before with Mondo. He's a real pro at it for sure. Jack Luby asks, would you ever do conversions of the Star Wars epic duels to fit with Unmatched? I assume you mean like Star Wars version of Unmatched. That's definitely sort of a holy grail IP. I've always said that it would be a great way to cap off the line. Just tell you right now, no plans to do that. That's a major license. Obviously, Fantasy Flight has that locked up in a general sense. I have no idea when or if that would ever be possible, but certainly that's something I would love to do. Of course, I'm a huge nerd. Felipe says, Unmatched, what's your strategy or plan to research on cultures that have been less explored? Anything interesting to share? That's a great question. One of the sets I didn't mention yet is Sun's Origin, which will be coming out later this year. That is a 2-pack featuring Oda Nobunaga and Tomoe Gozen from the Japanese culture. We always hire cultural consultants, whether we're doing a specific cultural set or if it's just a character that needs help. We had a cultural consultant on Battle Legends Volume 2, on Unmatched Adventures, etc. And so, yeah, we think that's important, not only just to get it right, but it also makes the sets and the characters so much more interesting when you're getting all the little details from someone who's an expert in that culture. So, yeah, that's definitely something we do. And I said before, Sun's Origin is a little bit of a test for us. I'm super excited about it. The art's amazing. The characters are super interesting from a historical sense, let alone a mechanical sense. And if it does well, which I hope it will, obviously, then that's certainly something we'd like to do in the future, is look for another culture that we might explore and doing a set for another culture. So yeah, and I get it. Like it's like sports teams, right? Like you want someone to do yours, right? So Biscuits, of course, Sun's Origin. Biscuits is he wants the Sun's Origins tee. They're coming in Fast and Furious now. I don't know, all about Sun's Origin. I can't reveal too much. The artist is amazing. How about this? You know what? I will drop one. I didn't clear this with Suze, but I don't think this is a big deal. So the battlefield, yes, she's nervous. It's not bad. I can tell you the name of the battlefield. I can do that. Oh, we had a temporary mute, and then I'm unmuted, so I think it's okay. It's Azuchi Castle. So it's a very important location in Japanese culture, and in particular with Oda Nobunaga's history. I encourage you to go look up these figures and so that seems like a good way to end the stream right there, apparently. But so yeah, like I said, I don't think that's a big reveal, but that is a nice tease. There you go. So enjoy. As my blabs go, that's probably the least I've done. Michael says, do you have a crossbow and catapults release window? I don't know yet for sure. Some of that will depend on how Goliath's release window is. We will have a pretty good idea by the time we launch. It's literally happening like in the next week or so, when Goliath is doing their piece of it and getting that stuff sorted out. And then obviously we have our own sort of the hobby set, the Fortress War. And we have a few other items in that campaign as well. So we'll have a pretty good idea, but I don't think I can really say for sure right now. But it'll be coming out next year, certainly. I just couldn't tell you with more detail than that right now. Nerd Chronic, have you considered options for more unmatched related merch, t-shirts, stickers, pens, etc.? So for those who aren't aware, we did a storage solution campaign that had not that kind of merch, but it did have some of that. We are in the process of revamping our website. It's something we always are exploring. I will say our picture people, we call them, Lindsay, Jason, Ian, are some of the best in the business. And then Jason in particular has a background in t-shirt design, so his t-shirts are always amazing. And it's something we'd like to do more of. So yeah, we're constantly working on that sort of stuff. We do have some amazing designs that we have just for like our convention booth stuff. So yeah, it's definitely something we'd like to do more of. and we will certainly look to explore that. So Suze is giving me a little heads up that Crossbows and Catapults is probably Q2 of next year, but still very tentative. So. All right, Riley says, hey, do you happen to have any ways to get older foils such as Bruce Lee, for example, other than trading with others online? I wish. I have one. I don't have a whole bunch either. So the Bruce one is in particular, obviously, is challenging because we were not responsible for that. That was managed by Mondo. They underordered, in retrospect, I mean, fairness to them, who knew? And so, yeah, there's just not a lot of those around, and there's not more coming. So that is unfortunately just going to be rare. No two ways about it. However, you can get one. If you want one, grab it when you can. Going forward, we do order a few more of those. We're not trying to make these like rare items that go for hundreds of dollars on eBay. That is definitely not our strategy. We want to have fun ways to disseminate them. One of the things we're looking at, we may not do this immediately this year, but it's certainly something we're looking at. It's sort of like when you go to Disney and you do the pin exchange, where we have some foils available at conventions and things like that, where people can do some foil trading and stuff like that at shows. I think would be a really fun way to do that. So yeah, we definitely want to make these available. We don't want to sell them, but we do want to make sure there's fun ways we can get them out to people, and then people can obviously do their trading and stuff to get the ones they want. Andrew asks, if RG wants to keep doing dexterity games, I'd love to see their take on Torpedo Run. That is definitely one we've had requested before. It is another interesting one. It's right up in our wheelhouse, obviously. I don't think we do it so close to Crossbows and Catapults, being that it's very similar in terms of play style, but it's definitely one I think will stay on the short list, for a while. And who knows down the road? Absolutely, I could totally see us doing that one. It's a very, very fun game. All right. Henrik asks again, are you guys considering any more games being released on Board Game Arena? So that's something we've been talking with them about. I actually need to follow up. Thank you for reminding me. They reached out to us about one. But yeah, we are always happy to support games on alternate platforms. I personally am a big fan of Board Game Arena. So yeah, it's definitely something we'd look at for sure. Golden Garuda asks, how do you decide on what games you restore? So this is the $1 million question. There's so many great ideas, and we only have so much bandwidth, so it can be challenging. A lot of it is, what's available in terms of rights and things like that. And then do we think we can do a good job on it? We have had games we were interested in and we tried and we got down the road and we couldn't make them work. And then, in terms of a product, like we're in the company who sells board games, can we make a saleable product that makes sense for us and get that out? And so there's no one right answer. Obviously we look at what the popular games are, but then we also look at some of the more obscure ones and see if we can make a good game out of that, and just make a fun game. So Mark Weinberg, oh my goodness, I went to high school with Mark, everybody. Can you envision a legacy version of one of your games? Oh, okay. Yeah, I certainly can. Rob's the one we got to twist his arm. Pardon me. So yeah, I will say it's definitely something we've been looking at. Rob will be the first to tell you they're not easy to do. A lot of bandwidth to get a legacy game done. But yeah, I mean, I think I told him, I said, I think we'd be missing a big opportunity if we didn't try it at least once. So I think it'll happen. Who knows which one, or maybe an existing game or a completely new game that we haven't even thought of yet. But I think something like that will happen down the road for sure. Mr. Playwright says, has the team considered Battle Legends 4, or is it too early? Too early, I would say. We'll see. Battle Legends Volume 3 is in the pipeline, 2024. As we work through by the time we get there, we'll be looking ahead another year or two, and then we'll see if a Battle Legends Volume 4 makes sense. I do think it's a good way for us to it's a good once a year, once every couple of years kind of thing, just to get a variety of heroes out, sort of heroes that don't fit in any other particular set that we think are, again, thematically interesting or mechanically interesting. I think the Battle Legends Volume 3 lineup is super cool. So yeah, we just actually saw some sketches for the first time on some of those, so that's exciting today. Any more large fighters in UM being considered? Honestly, not immediately. We have no immediate plans for that. It's not something we're trying to force one way or the other, or definitely not do. We would certainly do one if it made sense. So yeah, I mean, just we don't have any in the pipeline right now, though, to be quite honest. But you never know when a large fighter might pop up somewhere. But no immediate plans for that right now. Brian says, when you restore a game, do you approach the designers or do the designers approach you? Well, I shouldn't say that. Generally speaking, it's us. We're sort of looking at games that we want to do and we reach out to people. But we have had designers approach us about their own games or other games they thought were interesting that might be open to being restored. But generally speaking, we're looking for games and then we go out and try and track people down and see if we can make that work. Columbitron asks, are there any designers or companies that you'd be excited to work with? Lots of them. I mean, I'm a board game fan first, so just about anybody, honestly. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Eric Lang, good friends. Love his work and his designs. I would really like to work with him on something sometime, somewhere. As far as companies, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Later Games. I've known Pat. We started our companies at roughly the same time, and I've always been a big admirer of their work. We've done, dabbled here and there in some crossover, fun just for funsies stuff. But that might be fun to do something. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it'll look like, but it sure would be fun for sure. Has the team considered doing Cobble and Fog Volume 2? I would say it's something we've considered. We don't have any plans for it right now. As I said, we more are looking, we have sets for the next year and change lined up. And it's not in that pipeline, I will tell you, but something down the road I could see. There's also characters coming out that might fit in a Cobble and Fog Volume 2. So do we need to do it that way? And there's sets coming up that are, I think, again, one of the strengths of that was how thematically solid it was and vibrant it was. And we have a set or two coming out that I think also fits that criteria. So it might be a good stand-in a way, a volume 2, even if it's not strictly the same theme. So I think, yeah. Evan asks, thank you for the feedback regarding CNC again. What's the difference between the Castle Battle set and the Fortress War set? Basically, you get a lot more stuff in Fortress War. So crossbows and catapults, the Castle Battle set, is bricks, and weapons, and ammo. That's it, which is plenty for the dexterity game. You build your castles, and then you knock them down. And people, sorry, there's warriors in there too. You knock the warriors down, you win the game. Very straightforward, pure dexterity game. Fortress War has more of all of those. Well, not more weapons. That's in the weapons cache. That's separate because if people want that, they can add it on. If they don't need it, they can just use the core weapons. Bunch more bricks. You can build way cooler design castles, including special toppers. There's a prison. There's all kinds of cool little building pieces that you can do that has some functionality in the game as well. There are mercenaries. You have extra little figures that you also have a tactics deck of cards that give you special things that you can do on your turn. One of those is recruiting these mercenaries that you put out on the battlefield, and they have special abilities. So it just makes the game gives a little bit more meat on the bone, as it were. Again, still it's a dexterity game. You're lining them up and shooting things down. But it just has a little bit more variety to it, I guess you could say. Stephen asks, will there be expansions for crossbows and catapults? So we have some expansions right now. So we have, again, Fortress War has sort of some built-in expansions, if you will. But then we also have some other stuff. We have the weapons cache I mentioned, which has the 2 new weapons in it. We have, and I'm probably not even getting all this final stuff correct. We have a builder's bounty, which is essentially a bunch more bricks that you can use if you want to build even bigger castles. I'm trying to think, that might be it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Susan will ping me in the chat if I forgot anything, but those are the big ones. Note Bard asks, unmatched storage system updates. Well, I just posted an update to GameFound this week. And that is that everything is on a boat. So it's getting to the fulfillment hubs as we speak. That obviously can take anywhere from a couple weeks to 5-6 weeks, depending on how sea freight goes, and then getting it to the warehouse. Then obviously a little bit more time at the warehouse while they prep everything to get it sent out, get it in their queues. But it is on the water, it is on its way, and it should be coming in the next few months. It should be hitting your doorstep. So yeah, we're excited that was another big project. We thought, oh, we'll just do a storage system, and it took years of development, lots of engineering, lots of refinement in engineering at the production stage. But I'm excited for people to get that and see how it turned out. It's a pretty high quality product, so I'm excited with how it came out. Fanaka asks, thoughts on the digital version of the UM? Was there still going to be a digital only hero? So yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, we have an unmatched digital version. I think it was just today they just released, was it Dracula, I think just came out. So they're releasing a new hero and a new map every month. If you haven't checked it out, it is a great implementation. It's available on Steam, iOS, Android, Switch, cross-platform play, all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. As far as the digital-only hero, I designed one early draft just as a proof of concept. Like, what would a digital-only hero look like? The big question is, honestly, how well supported is the app? If the app is supported, we will continue to do content for it. And if it's well supported enough, I could certainly see a digital-only hero for it. But we're still early. We're just rolling out the sort of existing content on a regular basis, but we'll be looking at that pretty soon. So again, if you want to see more content for it, including digital-only content, I support it. Go out and buy it if you haven't bought it, rate it if you haven't rated it, and all that stuff. Tell your friends and whatnot. So yeah, it's exciting. It's sort of a whole different thing for us. Obviously, we've been working with Acrom on that, and I'm excited to see where it ends up. But we need to wait and see a little bit on how that does. So I think we're going to get to the end here and wrap that up. I want to thank everyone for joining us. As I mentioned, we hope to do these on about a quarterly basis. We'll have other people on here. Tell us who you really want to see in the chair next. And, oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? One more thing. Oh, that's right. We just got one other thing in just this week that Suzanne wanted me to show off. We got to see some of the first shots of the Unmatched Adventures minis. So these are the villain minis. You can see up there on the screen, there's Mothman with his translucent staring wings and his beady little red eyes. Very creepy. We're super excited with the way those minis came out. I don't think anyone, when we first talked about it, realized how cool those were going to look in person. And then we also have, she can bring up in a second here, the Martian. She's flipping through. There's the Martian invader with his little green dome and his big green beam shooting down. So yeah, those came out really good. Excited for everyone to get their hands on Unmatched Adventures. And yeah, so that's what those look like. Hope you all are as excited with those as we are. And I think that's going to wrap it up. Suze will let me know if there's even one more thing. So I think we're good to wind it down. Again, thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. We really love to connect with the fans, find out what you all are thinking, what you're interested in. It helps us a lot. Basically, I think in another few months, we'll have another one of these. And, again, let us know who you'd like to see sit in the chair and answer your questions, whether it's one of the picture people or Rob or one of the other designers, maybe Suzanne herself. She didn't know I was going to say that. Also, if you haven't, make sure you follow us on social. You can obviously subscribe to us on YouTube. That's not something we do a ton of, but we are looking to do a little bit more of that. On Twitter, we're at Restoration Game, no S. And obviously also on Facebook and Instagram. And then, like I mentioned, over on Board Game Geek, go and rate our games, please. And I think that's going to do it. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great day. Happy Pride Month, everybody. And hope you have a good day. Bye.